All right, we're back, and we are COMP305. That's game programming 1, fall 2016 semester at Centennial, and we are week 6, part 3 of our broadcast. We've just finished doing a simple animation example with the player, and I want to add in a pickup, and then we'll fix the enemy animation. So let's launch Unity again, and here's platformer D. And there's mechanism. I'm going to kind of zoom out of here and get to the game. Here's my scene. And what I want to do is I want to add a coin. That's what I want to do here on this platform. So for me to add a coin that's empty makes no sense, right? So what I can do is do something like this. I can go to sprites. I can go to coin. I know I'm going to have an animation, which is going to be right here. I could drag and drop this, but what I'd rather do is drag this big coin right here. Here it is. Notice that the coin itself is this coin 10. I'm just going to rename this thing as coin. Yes. And I'm going to zoom into it. You can see that that's the coin. And what I want to do is I want to add a couple of things here. I want to add a rigid body 2D, so it falls. That's what I want it to do. So physics 2D, rigid body 2D, right? Except I want to also make sure that the gravity scale is 3, right? I don't want it to flip, so I want to freeze the rotation, otherwise it'll flip around. That would look weird, right? And then I want to add another component, physics 2D, with the circle collider. Now the circle collider is not perfectly aligned because it's kind of a little bit off. So what we want to do is we want to change the size of the circle collider. And we want to move it to the right across the x-axis just a little bit. And let's make it a slightly smaller one. So 0.8 might be better. 0.2 and maybe 0.9 might be okay. So there's your circle collider for the coin. It's almost exact, right? So we got our circle collider. I don't want to make it a trigger. I could, but I want to make it so it's affected by physics, so it can be bumped and whatever from the enemy. And let's test this out and see if it works. So kind of here's our enemy. Here's our coin. And if I was kind of go to here and lift it up, it can just falls again. That's what it looks like. So our coin is pretty much complete at this point. Except I want an animation to work on it, right? So how do I do that? So I'm going to grab all these. Here's the coin animation, right? And here's the coin, right? So here's the coin animation itself. Now, can I do something like this? Can I drag this? But the coin is going away every single time. Well, notice on the right, this little lock. I can lock the coin in place. And then I can grab these things while the coin is up. Can I drag and drop these to here? Is that possible? No. Can I do it over here? Absolutely, I can do that. And it asks me for a new animation. So let's do that again. So we'll say it's going to be the coin clip, or the coin animation. We'll call it coin clip. Here we go. And we'll move into our animations. That's where we'll put it. And save it. The coin clip actually just creates a placeholder for what I need to use. If I go to my animations, I have my coin clip as well as my coin 09. I don't want that. That doesn't make any sense. Let's just rename this thing to coin animator, right? One thing now I can do is I get rid of this coin because it's just used to create the animation clip. There we go. Now that I have my coin object, and I'm just going to undo this thing here for a second. So unclip unclose the lock. I can drag my coin animator onto it, and I'm good to go. Right? Now if I run it, it starts to animate right away. Nice and easy. Because it only has one state. I don't have to go and monkey with the states because there is only one state, the animation state. The other thing is if my coin falls off and goes onto the death plane for whatever reason, I want it to be destroyed automatically, which means in my scripts, I have my kill script. I'm just going to pull it on. Done. I've got my coin. My prefab is almost ready to go. Let's go prefabs, drag my coin into my prefab, and we're good. Here's something that we're missing though. We didn't tag it with anything, so I can't really make a collision, right? So I'm going to get add tag and change this to coin. Go back to my coin and change the tag from untagged to coin, and then click apply to apply to all my prefabs. Here we go. So now if I click on my prefab for my coin, you can see that it's also tagged. Good. All right, now what I want is I want for the player, when he hits the coin, and let's make a couple of them now. So I'll kind of duplicate that. And let's go back to here. I'll make a couple of coins here. I'll make them kind of fall on top of each other. When he hits the coin, he's going to make a coin sound, right? Well, I have a bunch of coins or sounds already. So here's my sounds. And notice that I have a coin sound, but I'm going to add it to the player object, right? The hero. So here's my hero. And I want to add stuff. So I can click on add component, but I want to move it up. And it's going to give you some weird messages in a second. So I'm going to go, well, I want to add another audio source. Here it is. And this is okay. And I want to add that clip, which is the audio clip, which is the coin clip. I don't want it to repeat or play on awake. But I want to move this up. And now this is where it's going to give me a message that says, hey, are you sure you're going to break an instance of my object? Yeah, it's okay. And move it up one more time. There we are. So there's my audio source. Notice I have a couple of audio sources already, and I've dragged and dropped them. I can also do the audio source trick that I did before, where you kind of make them as an array. But I need another one for the coin sound. So I'm going to go into my, my scripts for my player. So scripts, player controller, and on the top where it says audio source death sound, I'm going to go public audio source coin sound. Coin sound audio source. Going back to Unity, I can now see that my hero has an audio source for the coin, or a position for the audio source for the coin sound. I can just drag and drop it from within itself to here. Now that I've done that, I'm going to apply the prefab to all my prefabs, so all my coins are the same, which is a very important step, and also change the order of everything. Okay, and now when I go back to this, I need to make some code to happen. So when I collide with the death plane, it makes the death sound, and it resets me. But what about if I collide, here's another one, with coin, right? If that's when it is, then what I want to do is I want to do a couple of things. I want to say that this dot coin sound dot play. I want to do that. You know, before that, what I want to do is get rid of the coins. I want to say destroy other dot game object. So it destroys the game object, which is the coin, and then plays the sound. So it gets rid of the coin. It eats it up, basically. Okay, let's check this out. I'm going to pull this out so you won't be able to hear me as well, but you'll be able to hear the coin sound. So here we go. So we'll play it, and now you'll be able to hear the sounds, so beware. Go, and then, right, so grab a couple of sounds. And now we have a problem, right? If we collide with this guy, he just pushes us out, right? So we don't want that to happen, right? We want, when I hit the guy, right, a couple things can happen. One, I want to hear the hit sound, boom, and then I want to respawn to the last point. That's what I want to happen, okay? So I need another sound, which means I need to modify my hero again, right? So I want to add a component, audio source, and we're going to add a new clip. By the way, this is not the only way we can make this happen, right? But it's just one way. And now that I have my audio clip, make sure this is not playing awake. I want to push this up, move it up. It's going to ask me to break the prefab. I will. Move it up again. So now it's all my audio sources are together. And then I've got to make a change to my code, just like I did before. So we're going to add another audio source. So I'll say public audio source Again, this is all the stuff you've seen before. Hurt sound. There we go. And now what I want to do is when I collide with my enemy, I want to make the hurt sound. If other game object compare tag is enemy. I gotta check to see if that's working. By the way, I think I already did that. Then I don't want to destroy my game object. I want to play the sound. So this dot hurt sound dot play. I want to do that. But I also want to respawn. And just like I did up here with this, I want to do the same thing down here. So I want this transform position is the transformation point, right? And I want to respawn to the new place. So this. So if I touch the enemy, right, then I want to respawn. Because I just lost a life, basically, right? Okay, let's fix that on the Unity side. I have another space when I have to get my hurt sound, which is the last one. So I drag this into there, and then I should be able to play. So play, right? Jump. Oh, I'm in trouble. I lost a life. Some coins. Jump down and get hurt. Right? Respawn. Right? Oh, one life left. Right? Oh, see what happens. He's going to do that every time. The enemy's not looking too good though. He's not like he's animating. So I want to kind of do one of these. Oh, no! Oh, I made it. Okay, watch this. This enemy here is going to be pretty fast. He's like a fast zombie. Once he sees me. Oh, he's not there. Okay, good. But that's where I want to put the other enemy. So I want to put another enemy in my level building, right? Right here at the top, right? Just before the checkpoint. So that way he's going to be waiting for me at the top. So I'm going to kind of drag a prefab of my enemy over here. Kind of go in there. Make sure that it's in the right place, approximately right there. That's where this enemy, just before the checkpoint, is going to be here. And I want to add in some coins down in here. So you get here, get some more coins, right? So let's add some more coins. So let's just grab in a couple more coins in here, maybe a few of them. So coin, 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 coin. There we go. So checkpoint, blah, 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 maybe a couple, maybe, and again, you can put as many enemies and stuff in here. The more difficult you make it, the longer it'll take for you to complete the level, right? So again, now, if I play, got those 2 coins, good for the enemy. Oh, I knew that was gonna happen. Oh, now he's mad. Now oh, damn it. Yes. I made it so I can win, right? So, oh, he's mad too. He saw me. What's the problem there? Did he really see me? Oh, he won't travel to me, right? Because it's broken, right? But if I lose again, he'll definitely push me, right? Hey, that's interesting. What happened? Look what happened. He kind of hit me, but what happened? I went back to my oh, there, I'm in trouble, right? I went back to my spawn point, and my spawn point is now moved, so it goes over here, right? So there's some issues. There's stuff we have to resolve through playtesting, right? But it's not something that you can't figure out. One thing to note is that he can definitely go up and down this thing here if you change the position of his platforms. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So zooming in, and notice that there's these platforms here, but they're not too close. So if I take the platform, this one, and I pull it to a little bit closer. Now, this one is broken, but if I pull a little bit closer, and this one too, it's all level design. Oh. Be careful. And once I do this correctly, Wow. See what I'm saying? It's kind of weird, right? Gotta be careful when you make these little things, what they look like. Because the way what his position, see this like sight line, it's too high. If I made it lower, he could go down the ramp. So he would see it, right? The thing would be here, so he would keep going, moving in that direction. But because it's not so high, right? So an example of this would be if I made his sight end, so here's the sight end, so I'm going to kind of zoom in here to the enemy object. This is just tweaking. Okay, we're talking about. Here's my sight end. And if I made this go a little bit lower, like this, right? Then he should be able to go down the ramp. Right? And again, if I go, oh, I'm choosing the wrong button. No. Let's set off this guy. Right here. See how he's not able to go down there because of what's happening. And if I look at his line here, that's pretty low. But right there, there's a little bit of a barrier. So again, let's make sure I clip on that, not the blocks, but this stuff. It's just a matter of putting this in the right orientation so that way he can go down. And the thing is, this is what tweaking is all about. You test it so that it works for you. So that way it overlaps. And then it might be, I need to maybe even go even further down so you can go down the ramp. But the point is, this is the stuff we do. We keep on testing it to make sure it's right. And so if you want the enemy to patrol this whole area. Okay, so pretty good. I'm missing the animation for the enemy. It's the same thing. It's just another opportunity for you guys to see it again. I'm going to do it a little bit quicker this time, right? The enemy only needs one animation, the walk animation. So again, if I was going to do this right, onto the hierarchy, I'm going to go into my sprites, and I'm going to go into my enemy, my enemy sprite, and I'm going to choose the walk animation. So for now, he doesn't have a jumping animation, just a walk. And I'm going to take this, and I'm going to pull all this into my scene. There it is, which is going to ask me to make a new animator, which I'm going to go and put it inside my animations. I'm going to call this the enemy walk. All right, press enter. It's going to go into my animations folder where I have this and I have this. This is called my enemy animator. Enemy animator. The animator controller it's called. I can get rid of this now, which is walk. And I can go back to my enemy object itself, one of these, this one. And I'm going to take my enemy controller, animator controller, and put it onto it. And I'm going to pull this up further up. It's going to actually ask me to break the prefab. I'll say OK. For now, move it up. Here's my animator. Yay. I don't have to do anything else. I just have to go into apply. And now all my enemies are the same. Let's try this out and see what it works, if it works out again. So I got my enemy coins. And now you can see that it's running. Nice and easy. So he's pretty intense, right? If he sees me, yeah, it's a pretty good hit. So I got hit twice. And now he's incensed. He's really mad, right? He's just jogging. Now, here's what I picked up last time. See if you see the same thing as I did. If I go to my scene, this guy's running normal, right? See him? But as I jump, if I jump down here, his line of sight will see me before I jump down. See this line of sight? If I jump down now there, I can't see him at this point, right? Because he's just out of sight, right? Just there. So if I see him in the corner there, until he's turning around, he will see me on my line of sight. So now if I go here, he hasn't seen me yet. I'm below his line of sight. He's okay, right? But if I run up, so I can't run up this thing. Now he's incensed. Now he's really mad, and he'll push me till I'm back where I was before. And I didn't quite make it to the checkpoint. Now everyone's mad at me. This enemy, the other ones. How do you kill the enemies? Remember I told you I want to jump on their heads. It's really hard to do, right? You have to time it. It has to be right, and it has to be so that if I jump on the enemy's head, right, the enemy is destroyed, right? And I get some kind of point or something like that, like almost like a coin sound or something else like that, like a winning sound, right? Because I want to give feedback to my player. That's the idea. So in order for me to make that happen, the enemy, disappearing, I have to make it so that when my hero in my script, when he collides with my enemy, but it's not a collision enter 2D, right? It's on trigger enter 2D. When I enter the trigger, right? Now there's different ways to do this. I can do this on my enemy controller, right? Because my enemy is the one that has the collider. It's a trigger, actually, a trigger collider that belongs to the enemy, right? So if I was to show you what this is, right, and I'll make it happen. So I'll say, debug if player lands on enemy's head, object's head. I'm trying to do here. So I say private void on trigger instead of collider, right? On trigger enter 2D, right? And then it's collider 2D. It's a different one. And then other. And the way I can do this is because I know I made a trigger collider on the head, right? And then if the other game object dot compare tag is the player, then what I want to do is I want to play a sound, which I don't have yet, on the enemy, and give the player some points and destroy myself. So how does that work? So first of all, I want to destroy this. Be careful. When you destroy this, you destroy yourself, right? And I'm just going to say it's not this, but this dot game object, just so we know that it's, because if you say this again, it'll just destroy the script. That's all it'll kill. Because this refers to the script, right? So this is what I want to do, but I also want to make a sound, and it's only when the player touches my head, right? Because there's no other trigger collider. To show you this, if you go to the enemy, you can see that there's 3 colliders, like I did before. The first one, which is a regular collider, the body, which kills the character, and then the head, which is a trigger, right? Okay. So what I really want is when the player lands on the enemy's head, then the player can kill the enemy. Let's go back to the player for a second. Here's this poor guy, right? Let's move this guy. So I'm going to move him up. And let's see if I can move him all together in a different position. Up and not the camera. Where's the player? Hero. There he is. Let's move him over across a little bit to there. Move over here. And now this is tricky because I got to kind of go in there and see where I can put the guy right on top of the enemy. And this is how difficult it would be too. All right. Oh. See that? Jump on the character, it kills the enemy, right? And it's good. We're good to go. That's the motion we're going to have to make. It's very hard to make it happen, right? To jump right on the enemy's head. I need a sound that the enemy's going to make, like a dying sound. We can make it, oh, like one of those. I'll make it right now, right? Let's try it. Making sounds fun, so we're going to use Audacity for that. And ready? Oh! Okay, lots of sound. Let's kill some of this part. And we'll cut this out. And we'll cut all this out. And we'll kill this. And I'll take my headphone off for a second. How it sounds. So when we play it, How about we play the, we move the track back. Oops. I'll be very back into that time. I meant move the playhead back to here. Well, it didn't work either. Oh, that's not what I wanted, but okay. Let's kill this other area here. Oh, no. Kill this other area here. Yeah, okay, now let's play the sound. And play from here. Oh. Cut. No, see? It's because when I do this, I cut. So I don't want to, I'll leave this the way it is. And what I want to do is I want to do an effect. I want to do a kind of a pitch change again. We'll make it so that it's a lower pitch. Right, like come over here and preview. And we want to slow it down. We'll slow it down as well. So we'll go effect. Right, we'll slow down the speed. So it really sounds funny. Right, preview. That, okay, it's maybe too slow. Bring it up a little bit. Oh, I guess it worked. Right. It's funny. It's a funny sound. Now we have to export it because I want to make it an MP3. So the way to do that, of course, is to go File, Export, and again, you have to make it an MP3. You have to choose. You have to download a plugin for this, right? So I'm going to just choose MP3 files, and I'm going to go to my desktop, go Unity Projects, Platformer D, Assets, and put it inside Sounds. They're all MP3s. I need to make this, I'd save this as something. I'm going to call this like enemy. How about dead enemy? Dead enemy. Doesn't matter. Save. It's going to ask me to make some stuff. It's not going to be a small explosion. We'll call this dead enemy. And the album title is whatever this is, 2D platformer, 2D platformer. 2016 arcade game. Yay. First track. And okay. Good. Now we'll save. We'll just exit out of here and press no. And we've got, once we save it, you can see that the sound is here. Here's my dead enemy sound, which I can try. Right? There it is. And now whenever my enemy dies, it's going to play the sound, which means my enemy itself has to have a sound, an audio component, and I can just drag and drop because it's the only one. There it is. I don't want to play it automatically. I only want to play it when it's happening. I'm going to add that into my enemy controller script. So I'm going to pull this up, move up, and move up again. There it is. So that's what's going to happen. That's how this audio source is going to work. I only have one audio source, so I don't have to make references to it the same way. So if I go back into my scripts, and if I go to my enemy controller, and if I look at my audio source, I can make a private reference to it here. So I can say private audio source, and we'll call this the dead enemy sound, dead enemy sound. There it is. And the dead enemy sound is going to be an object that I'm going to set up in my start. So I'll say the dead enemy sound, this dot, oh, make it a underscore. I did. Underscore dead enemy sound, right, is equal to get component audio source. Because that's I only have one, oops, audio source. So I can just do it this way. Okay, so now that I've got my dead enemy sound, when I get hit, not only do I destroy myself, but I allow the dead enemy sound to play. So this dot underscore dead enemy sound dot play. Oh. And let's see if this works. If I can make it go, because it's going to be really hard to make it work, right? So, can I land on the enemy's head? It's a bit of timing. I'm going to go to the right here. Oh, no. Oh, now it's impossible. Now forget about it. Double death. Okay, let's start that over. That was just wrong. It's hard, is what I'm saying. But if I play and I go to the scene. I'll do the same thing with this what I did before. But to give you an idea of how hard it is, right? So this might be something you can do, but may not be something you should try and do. And you can probably warn the player when you do your tutorial for the player, if you do that, and say, you know, guys, it's really, really hard to do. Right? So he's floating, and oh, what happened? How come I didn't get my sound going? He disappeared, but everything else was bad. What? This destroy happens almost at the same time. That's why. So yeah, I'm trying to play the sound, but the sound can't play because my destroy things doesn't work, right? Doesn't work. I'm putting it out there because I want to show you this. Also, one thing we did that we didn't finish was we added the audio source for the enemy here. Right, here's the audio source, but we didn't apply all the change to all the enemies. But that shouldn't make a difference. The audio source will play, but it's not a big deal. The problem is that we're trying to make the enemy disappear, destroy the enemy. And if I go back to my enemy controller, and if I notice I'm saying destroy, what we could do is we could add velocity to the enemy in one direction or another, right? So depending on the direction of the player, right, I could add velocity to the enemy, right? I could try and do that, like to push him, you know, to kick him or whatever it's going to be, right? I could do that. I could also respawn him somewhere else. I could take him and respawn him in another position, like a place where he's going to play that sound and then he's going to die, right? Like somewhere from very high up. So for example, I could have an enemy respawn position. This is a trick we can use. I don't recommend this. That's the only way to do it. But I can put the enemy respawn somewhere off screen, like over here. So I can make another game object. Again, half of what we do with, if you're going to pull anything out of this, this whole course, half of what we do with the stuff we do in the game, it's all tricks. So we can make an empty. We'll call this the enemy respawn. How about enemy spawn? And we'll code it so that it looks, I don't know, like another color, like yellow again, because the enemy seems to be all yellow. And we'll take this and we'll put it off to the side over here, somewhere that's way far off, but not below the death plane. Like the death plane's got to be somewhere where we can see it, because if it's not on the death plane, then that's bad, right? So make the death plane a little bit longer. There we go. So that basically what he does is he respawns and falls. Make it so that the fall is long, right? So now when the enemy respawns there, the enemy spawn area, that's what it's going to be, I have a problem. I need to, again, tag where this is going to be and make a reference to where the enemy is going to respawn. So all enemies will respawn on the spot and fall to make that sound, right? The other option is to make the sound part of my player again, right? And have the player connect with the enemy, right? So when my player collides with the enemy, then, and it has to collide on the trigger, but does the trigger work on the enemy or does it work on the player? I only have a trigger on the player. I only have a trigger on the enemy, right? So does the trigger work both ways? Because that would save us the spawn point and all that complication, right? Let's try it the other way first to see if it works. So get rid of this for now. And if I look at the hero, the enemy controller has I'll debug the same thing, right? So this is on the enemy, but on the player, I can try the same thing. I can try and take this whole thing, right? I'm using on trigger enter 2D. Is there an on trigger? What's the other? I don't think it's going to work because I don't have a trigger on my player at all, right? So if I just go down here to this and press this, and then instead of all this, I'll just put in, it's not the player that I'm triggering. If I trigger anything, I'll debug.log, and then I'll say trigger. I don't think it's going to happen though. So if I land on the object's head, if I land on the player's head, it's going to, anything that I connect with any kind of trigger, it's going to make that debug happen, right? The problem with it is that the hero himself doesn't have a trigger collider. The only one that has a trigger collider is the enemy. Oops. Let's play that game. So I'll try it again. Oh, I have to modify the enemy controller script. So in the enemy controller, I will comment this out so that it doesn't trigger at all. This doesn't happen. Otherwise, it'll just delete again. Okay, let's try this out. So now, good. Go here. Click on the hero, just to show you that how it works. Right? That's why it's really for. Okay. Pull him over here. Wait for the enemy to go and hijack him. Oh. Trigger. So you see, even though I put it in the hero, because I connected with a trigger collider that belongs to the enemy, worked. I didn't do it enough because it not only hit the trigger, but it also hit the regular collider. And that's why I made that death sound, or the and then reset. So that simplifies matters a lot for us, right? Because now, on the enemy, I can remove the audio source because I don't need to hear, right? I don't need the enemy audio source at all, and I'll save this enemy, so all the enemies are the same. But then I can go to the player controller, and now in the trigger collider, I can take the code that we had from here. If the player collides with an enemy, la 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 la, do this, except this one will be enemy. And in my enemy controller on the top, I wouldn't need some of this stuff, like the audio source. I can get rid of this again. And I wouldn't have to initialize it this way. I don't need to do that anymore. That's gone. So all of this can be gone. So that's good. So colliders can work both ways, which is a good thing, right? And now this I need to do for the player. So I need to do the same thing we did last time with the players. So this will be the public audio source and enemy dead sound. And down in here, where I did this stuff, I call it dead enemy sound. We'll just call it enemy dead sound this time around. Doesn't matter. Enemy dead sound. Dot play. There we go. We don't have a reference to that yet, so we have to do that in code in the Unity, which we've been doing. We can do it different ways, but what the hell? And then here it is. We're just going to we need an audio source for that. Next, we have the last one we did was the hertz sounds. We have to add an audio source, add component audio source, and we're going to pull in that audio, which is here. And we don't want this to happen, and we do want to move this up, so it's going to ask us to break the prefab, which is what we want to do. In this case, move up. So they're all aligned nicely. Now, enemy dead sound, we have to pull this in there, make a reference. There we go. And now, after everything, we want to definitely apply the differences to our character. And let's just make sure we've done the same thing to enemy, just to make sure there's no issues. Let me play. And now we should be able to do that thing. So I'm going to see if I can. There's no way I'm going to be able to get him. I'll tell you right now. I know because his head is very small. It's a circle. So for me to get him will be like super impossible. Wow. Oh, it worked, but I did the wrong thing, right? But I did it. That's the timing, right? So instead of destroying this game object, what I want to do is I want to destroy the other game object. So destroy other.game object and play the sound, right? So it's almost there. Again. You good?
No, for a second, I thought it was
Oh, it didn't quite work. One more time, and now he's angry, right? Like I can't. When he's angry like this, you can't. You don't want to get him angry, right? Because that's it. Right. So let's play. I just dropped on top of it. It takes a little bit of effort, and I'm not going to spend the effort right now because I want to move on to other things. But I want to show you how this works. So just timing, and done. So that's the point, right? So I can probably give like, 200 points for killing the enemy, kind of thing, as opposed to 100 points for jumping over him or something. How could I get points for jumping over him? What would be the way to do it? Anybody have an idea? Collider going straight up. So I can make another collider. It can be another trigger collider, right? But if I did that, the problem is that I can't differentiate between trigger colliders. I can't know which one it is. I don't know which one I'm hitting, right? So if I did that, then, and if I pass over them at any time, I'll keep getting the points. So if I go over once, and the other one, and this one, yeah. They do an into-game object. I have to pass pretty close, right? And I can't get the points twice. So I'd have to, when I pass through the game object, it has to kill the trigger, yeah. Do that. But then if I trigger it, I have to kill the line of sight. So if I do it vertically and I jump over it one time, it's gone, right? So that way, not only does it happen, but yes, it's true, I passed through it, and now get rid of it, right? Like that kind of thing. Otherwise, I keep passing over them over and over again and keep getting points, right? And that's not good to do. So I say, we're just talking about concepts here, right? Things that you can do. All right, so you've got these things in place. I want to get some UI. I think we have enough time to get it done. Remember, we have a template for all this stuff. I don't have to recreate the wheel here, and this is not exactly what you have to do on your test. All right. So I want to add points. How do I do it? One thing is I know that I need to add, a UI, and let's use the same fonts and everything else that I had from before, right? So I have some materials or whatever, that I can add in, some assets. How do I do that? So I can go to my Mail Pilot D. There it is. I know that I have this thing. And inside my Mail Pilot D, I have my fonts. So let's say I was going to make a game by the same company, and they have the same kind of style of doing stuff. I take my whole fonts folder. First of all, let's make sure it's on assets. And I'll take my whole fonts folder and drag and drop it into this. All right, so now I have my fonts, .51, which I need. And I also have my scripts, right? So here's my scripts. So I have my game controller script, and I want to drag and drop it. Now, there's a problem with this. What would be the problem to the script that you can foresee if I just drag and drop my script into this thing? Come on, guys. What would be the problem? How about namespacing? That would be a big problem right there, right? Now, if I look at the script, so I'll open it with Text Wrangler for a second so you can see it. A different program altogether, right? So notice that here's the public class. It's using mono behavior. And is there a namespace that I have to worry about? And the answer is no. So that one thing that they did with Unity is they made it nice in terms of I don't have to worry about namespacing. I can drag and drop scripts from one project to the other, right? Which you might be asked to do, hint, right? So how do I do that? Well, I know I have my scripts folder, so I just drag and drop it in. And let's see what happens. Hey, let's go to my game controller and see what's red. UI objects are definitely going to be red. I need live label, score label, game over label, final score label, restart button, all this stuff. I don't have my plane or my island, so these game objects are going to be gone. So I don't care about those things, right? What other game objects do I have, though, right? Because I may want to do something with this, like other stuff that's in here. And let's see when I use these things. I turn them off and on, right? I set active and set inactive, all this kind of stuff that I do, right? And also I got to figure this. In my game controller, I want this to handle points, but not necessarily, give me a game over screen and all that stuff. I want to have two different scenes for that. One scene for my menu scene, and one scene for my other stuff. So I really don't need this piece right now. So delete. And also, I don't need my restart button, right? Because I'm going to take this restart button, right, from my from my scene, right? My restart button. It may or may not be in the scene, right? That kind of thing. But I definitely want to take care of lives and score and all that. So I can put that in there. So take my restart button out of there. And I can start seeing those areas that I gotta kind of do that. Final score label, my game over label, all that stuff. I don't care about that. Game over label and final score label. I want to do it on another scene altogether. So I'm taking that. Okay, cool, cool. These go. Okay. All this stuff can go because you can see that's all not required right now. And same thing with this. And I don't have a game, but I do have a play scene, right? I don't have a restart button, so I'm not going to go there. So I can just get rid of all this too. So all I want to do is I want to use this end sound, the end game sound. I don't have that. I'm going to play that in my when I get to my new level, right? So this wouldn't be a game sound anymore. Just get rid of this. I do need this stuff though, however. End game sound I don't need because I'm not going to play that here. So I'm going to play that on another scene. I'm trying to make different scenes here for this. Cloud number, I don't care. And this, I don't care. These are public for testing. I don't care about these things. Cloud numbers. Because I'm laying out my level, but this I need. So almost like making a scoreboard. That's what I'm really doing more than anything else. With live, flat value, and all this kind of stuff. So I'm using my game controller for other things. Okay, and game sound, get rid of this, and all this stuff, I get rid of all this. It's really cut down. So it's easier to destroy than to build, right? It's nice and easy. All right, cool. So I got stuff. I need to add this to a game controller object, however, which I don't have. So I'm kill this. Go to my Unity, and I want to add a new create empty object called game controller. And go to game controller. There it is. And what I want to do is I want to reset this. Just it doesn't have to be, but I'm going to reset it to the 0 point, and I'm going to add in my game controller script, which actually gives me a couple of things that prompts me for my lives label and my score label. So I want to add those in. Now I want to add those two things in there. So I'm going to add a UI item in here for lives and score. And the way to do that, and again, if I was to, I'm going to pull this stuff aside for a second, put this underneath here for now. And I have a longer hierarchy. Sometimes you need to do this as well from a setup perspective. My inspector can be a little bit smaller, and I can scroll as opposed to not have my project in here. That's okay. So I've got this long hierarchy, and you may have that. So my game object, right, as an example, it's got game controller, and I got to rename this properly, game controller. Good. And what I want to do is I want to pull in from my my game controller script on top of my game controller. So I'm just going to do one of those, and that's pulled in. And I did that twice. Why? There it is. But I also want to add in a UI item. So I'll say a new UI, and it'll be a couple of text items for UI. When I do that, this will be, and if you notice, my game controller is requiring me a couple of things, lives label and score label. So this will be my lives label. Lives label. Go. And I'm also going to duplicate this. Let's duplicate. And we'll make this the score label. Actually, it's probably too early to duplicate. Let's just get rid of that. There we go. My lives label. And I'll move this project stuff back just so I can see it again. Here's my lives label. On the right-hand side, you can see that I have my, as I scroll out, here's my new text object, and it provides this big text area here, which is where I want to put my stuff, which is in the top left corner. And to see it, what I want to do is I want to change my text to lives. Okay, before you've seen all this before, but a good refresher for you guys. And my font size has to be something like 30. Means the size of my object has to be like 40. And then my color has to be yellow. Again, nothing you haven't seen before, guys. So I'm making it a yellow color. You can make whatever color you want. I'm making it yellow. And we can make it red. We can make it whatever. In this case, it's blue. Something lighter is better, right? And if I zap in there, you can see that it's kind of looking ugly. I want to move it so that it is relative to the top left corner of my screen, which is very important at this point, right? And you don't see it that it's important, but it is, because now, remember, our screen is aspect. It's not a fixed, I'm just putting my headphones back on so you can hear me better. Width or anything like that. I'm changing my font from Arial. I'm going to go to Doc 51 because that's our font that we've been using. There we go, lives. Okay, makes sense. So, and it's pretty good. You see how it looks. lives. If it's too small, it will appear small. That's what it would look like right now. And we'll have score on top of here, right? By the way, is this a good position on the top, or do you think it might be better on the bottom in this case, right? It might be better on the bottom, right? Because I'll tell you why. Because on the top, my camera, he's going to be jumping, right? And it might obscure what's on the top, as opposed to when you do your UI, you want to make it so it's unobtrusive as possible, right? Let's go back to that and fix it. So go back to scene, move that down, like this to the bottom left corner, lives, and I'll change the positioning so it's relative to the bottom left corner. And now you can see in games where it's going to be on the bottom, lives, and then scores on the right. So now what we'll do is we'll duplicate, and we'll move it across, and we'll make it much wider, like 200 or 250, something like that. Make that kind of zoom in there so you can see it. There it is, something like that. And then we'll change this lives, sort of lives label to score label, and we'll change this to score, which is 9999. You can see that, and we can see that we can reduce the size of that maybe to 200 and move it over a little bit more. Also going to change this so it's relative to the bottom right hand corner. Why? Why am I doing all this relative stuff? Because that way if I want to port it to Android or something else, it'll be relative to the bottom left hand corner and bottom right hand corner. Right? It's better that way. All right, so we got our stuff. Now we have to make it relational to our game controller. So we can have live label goes here, and our score label goes there. There we go. Okay, so we got this stuff, but if we play right now, it doesn't really take care of anything. Like I start with 5 lives, but I don't really get a score. I haven't set all that up for scoring, right? But it's on the bottom. You can see that lives and score up down there. If this doesn't make any sense, you can always put it on the top. I'm just putting it on the bottom just to make a change to see what the differences are. So how do I make a score? I got to access the game controller object, right? I got to make a reference to that with my player. And it's usually the player that has all the difficulty, right? So here's my scripts, and here's my player controller. Now I'm not going to write this from scratch. Why would I write the connections to the game object from scratch when I have it already? Where do I have it? Here. Right? I'm going to open my plane controller, which is where it's happening. I'm going to open that up with another program like Text Wrangler or whatever you want. And at the top, you can see that I have references to my game controller right here. Right? So this public game controller, now this is difficult because I have to make my game controller, I got to initialize my game controller somewhere, right? And I don't have that game controller, right? Be careful, because when you make your game controller, I want to do one of these. I want to do something like game controller.score value plus equals to 100. But here, I'm making it a public drag and drop reference. Again, just to let you know, right? Can I do a drag and drop reference? Just putting it out there, right? From a game controller with from a hierarchy, and the answer is no, I cannot, right? Because just like we did before, our game controller, even though it exists here, right? My player object, my hero object, which is where I want to do everything, right, is a prefab. So even if I add a reference to my player object here, unless it's physically sitting inside my prefab, I won't be able to get to it, which means I have to find object with tag. Now there's different ones you can use. I'm just putting it out there. And if I go find with tag Unity, right? It's different than find game object with tag. And there's one thing I always like to do is look at the API, because the scripting API is kind of interesting of what you can do. Here's an example: public game object respawn. And I want to say, well, find with tag respawn, it's a game object. Great. But what if it's not a game object? What if it's something else, right? How do I find with tag? How do I do that, right? So find with tag is one. And find game objects with tag, I can use that one. And there's also find. Let's see what find does. So find does something different. So I want to do find, right? And I can do something like this. public game object hand, and I want to find the hand. My hand is a game object that I use hand to declare. So it's still a game object. So hand, monster, whatever, and I can find, these are all these different kinds of things I can do to find an object that says hand. Now it's not find with tag. I'm not doing that. It's labeled hand. So the object is called hand, the name of the object, not the tag object. Okay, so what is my name of my object? Have I set it up? So that means it's different than tag name. It's different than this. It's this. So in this case, game controller, the name would be this, game controller, not game controller together. All right. So first of all, let's try this out. So first, if I was going to make the player controller, I'm going to go in there. I need to make a reference to it, and it's got to be private because it doesn't really matter what I do, right, in this case. So private, got to be a game object, and I got to make it so that it's called game controller. This is the test. If I make my game object game controller there inside my initialization script, which is here, I've got to do something like this. I got to say this dot game object. I'm just using it. No, this is bad. Game controller is what I called it. I have to make sure that that's correct. Sorry. This dot game controller, and I'll probably use the underscore in a second. Dot game controller is equal to, now watch, game object dot find, then the name of the object, which is game controller, right? And I'm going to cast it as game controller. Now, be careful. When I do this, I'm casting it as a script, right? And that's not really true, right? I'm not doing that. I want to take the script that's attached to this thing and cast it as a game controller script, right? So there's a couple steps I can do here. One, I can do find game controller and then make another reference to it somewhere down and say, you know, game controller dot get component game controller, right? Whatever it's going to be called, a script. And then when I get the game controller script, then attach it and so on. But what this does is it finds the game controller itself, the game object, right? So first of all, let's see if I can do other things with it. Like I want to go, if I go as game controller, that's casting it a game object as a script, right? Let's try this out. I'm running out of time to do this, to show you this thing. So if I go do this and I press play, you'll see that there's a compiler error. And it says, sorry, go back to the compiler so it shows you what the error is. It says, I cannot convert Unity game object to game controller via a built-in conversion. This doesn't work, right? I can find this object, but it's a game object. It's not a game controller. So that's the game controller object, right, that I'm finding. But I want the game controller script, right? So how do I access that thing? And how do I reference it? What's the real changes, the real challenges is. So if I call this the game controller, sorry, refactor, rename here. Refactor, rename, game controller underscore, game controller object. I got to reference the object, right? That's what this is. Game controller object. Now, what I want to do is I want to find the game controller script that I want to have access to, right? So if I say private, it's game controller, and we'll call this game controller. Tom, because I'm rushing. And what I want to do down here when I initialize this one, then I want to do something like this. I want to say this, you know, dot underscore game controller is equal to this dot underscore game controller object, this one, right? dot get component. I believe it's game controller. And I think I have to cast it as a game controller too. Now let's run this thing first. I know, it's crazy script. Let's see if it runs and see if I got an error. Because if I have an error, then that'll be bad. Okay, so it works. That worked. That didn't have a problem getting this. So now that I got this, I can do what I did before. And if I was to look at the code that I got from my other plane controller, which is got this, and I want to do this dot game controller score value plus equals to 100 and minus a life, right? That's what I want to do. I can do that with when I do this. So I say, well, when I collide with a coin, right? I want to play the sound, and I want to say this dot underscore game controller, and I want to say dot lives value, or sorry, it would be score value, right? Plus equals to 100. And then when I collide with an enemy, play the heard sound, I'll say this dot underscore game controller dot lives value minus equals to 1. There we go. So that works. And if it works, then we should be able to modify our score, no problemo. So let's try it out. So, and then and oh, I missed those. Of course, when I try and do a simple test. Yes, see, now I can do this. It's good to go. Bit of convoluted code, but you know what? It's basically what you're doing is this: you're finding the game object and then finding the game controller based on the game object. And when you do that, you can do the same thing. If I kind of hit it now, I'm going to lose a life. The other place I want to lose life is when I respawn. That was kind of a weird hit, right? So when I respawn down here, so if I hit the death plane, I also want to lose a life, right? So either way, if I hit him, or if I hit the death plane, I want to respawn and I want to lose a life. Now you have, guys and girls, you have a mechanism to get score, and if you have score, you can change levels and do all that stuff. Okay. One more question: how do I pass data from one level to the next? How do I pass data from one level to the next? Tricks is the answer. I want to make some tricks happen, right? How do I do tricks? I have a game object that's empty. And there's a piece of code that I can use called do not destroy on load, right? And when I use this do not destroy on load method, I think it's called don't destroy on load. I just want to give you this before we leave. If I go don't destroy on load, right? It's a Unity thing. Don't destroy on load. What it does is it maintains, if I put any game object that's inside of it, if I indicate, I can do this on awake, right? Then when I reload my script or go from one script to one level to the next, it'll keep that game object and not kill it from one scene to the next, which is a great way of passing code, right? So example would be, right now I have a game controller, and I want to pass my game controller to my last level, right? So my end level is, I need to know my high score, right? So instead of killing my game controller, right, and all that kind of stuff, I want to maintain it. I don't have to create a game controller in my final level. It exists automatically. But be careful, because when you go to the final score, the references that you're getting from it have to be present. Like, for example, all the same references to the UI and everything else have to be present physically on that level, right? So therefore, it sparks us off to have another discussion, which is maybe what we need to do, instead of having call it a game controller, I'm just putting it out there, is rename my game controller altogether to scoreboard. So my scoreboard lasts, my game controller changes, and I might have a menu controller for my first level, a game controller for my second level, and a game over controller for my last level, right? That's the way I would do it. I've run out of time, but that's what I would get it to do. And the way to do that is to use don't destroy on load. I'm just pointing you in the right direction. to finish that. And if you want to get bonus points for the assignment number 2, make 3 scenes. A start scene with a menu. It doesn't take that much time. With a little start button. The play scene, and then when you're done, the end scene. And that'll help you for a couple reasons. One, it'll help you with your final project, because I've required you to do that for your final project anyway, right? It'll help you when it comes to the exam, because I might ask you to do, you know, something weird like I just did. This thing, what I just did with my game controller, where it's actually picking up information from a prefab, the way I did it right now, because the hero itself is a prefab. It cannot make a connection to the game controller, and the game controller won't exist until everything is instantiated. That whole mess of code right now, we will have access to, because I'm going to put it up online. Okay? Whew. Questions around this? Yes? No. Typically not. It depends on how many items are floating around the scene. Like if you had a lot of effectors and different kinds of joints, like hinge joints and stuff like that, and many objects, lots of, if you have a lot of particles flying around everywhere, the more of that you have going on that are uncontrolled, then the heavier in terms of performance your game is going to be. Now here's the final thing that I would do to test this thing out. How do I know? I've been playing this game, right? But how do I know this thing will even build? Right, so I'll leave you with this. You guys can go if you want, but I'm just going to do a build. So first of all, I'm going to save my scene. I'm going to save my project. I'm going to do a Unity build and run. We haven't done that yet. And I'm going to build for WebGL, right? Like we've done before. So I'm going to build and run. It's going to ask me for a place to build everything. So I'm going to create a new builds folder. Create. And we'll call this WebGL. Save. Remember, on the test, you're going to have to do a WebGL build for me, right? So don't forget, because without this, I can't test it without downloading it and installing it and blah, blah, blah. And it's a pain in the ass, right? So it takes a second to do, but one thing to do is to test whether this thing does the WebGL build at all, right? Remember that just because it works locally doesn't mean it'll build. There might be other errors that are stopping it from working, right? Some of it has to do with memory management, and you can change some other WebGL settings to increase the amount of memory that you allocate to WebGL, especially when it comes to 3D. When we get to 3D, a lot of your 3D projects will fail, right? Because of the amount of memory that's involved. You talked about levels, having a big level, right? And if it's slope. So imagine doing a huge level with the terrain, trees, wind, all kinds of stuff going on, a fog that's in the background for your 3D. This is all possible, right? But now somehow your WebGL is going to build all that. Keep track of it, right? Let's just say performance will be definitely an issue, right? So you may have to swap your settings. But for now, I think even this little project will build. It's so small and doesn't do anything. Like really, we don't have a lot of stuff going on. My level is quite small. Will it take me 5 minutes to play this level? No. I'll probably get through it in about a minute, right? Even less, the way I've set it up. How do I make a level 5 minutes? You make it challenging, but not impossible, right? So like jumping over that enemy that it's going to follow me. I mean, it's all timing, right? So I might die the first time, right? I'm still counting. And I put it on. If I die the first time and I try it again and make it through, and if I figure it out within 5 minutes, I'm pretty good, right? That's all I want to do. If I can't figure out your level in 5 minutes, it's either too long or too hard, right? So test it, please. Test it rigorously. See if it's unfair for you to play. If you sit there and go like, wow, Tom is never going to finish this thing. It's going to be 100 minutes. I don't want to play a 100-minute level, please. Only 5 minutes. Make it so I can get through it. It's not too easy. It's not too hard. If it's kind of in the middle for you, it's going to be probably in the middle for me. Maybe a little harder because you know the level and I don't, right? But I should be able to do it in about 5, right? As you can see, it takes quite a bit of time to do this. So that's why there's going to be a portion of the day that's going to be allocated to this. And I'll time it for you guys. I'll say, at this time, we're going to go in to do WebGL builds. Please all do this now, right? And remember, my machine is a little bit faster, so mine can do this WebGL build much quicker than some other people's, right? Well, not because I want to make anybody angry, but because it just takes that much longer to do. So you can see how this is taking time. Any questions around UI or animation? We've done a bunch of stuff today, especially references. References are always a pain in the ass for people to understand. How do I make a reference? How come Tom didn't use a get object with tag, you know, as opposed to use with tag, you know, find the object? You can do both. That's the answer. But one is with the name. And let's see if I get sounds. Yeah. So here we go. It's on the web. Now, see if I dial it properly. Let's see if I can kill this guy. Yeah, baby. I should have got more better score for that one. Oh, I was gonna see me. Oh, no. Oh, what you say? You can see that this should be still the same level, right? So if I'm playing your level and it's like this, and this is my first time. Oh, if I make it, as you can see. What? This? No, no. I haven't tested it at all. Like, I haven't had time. Look, all we doing was been adding features the whole time. I haven't had very little time for testing whatsoever. I need another week, put it that way, like you guys do, right? If I spend another week on this game, I can make it pretty cool. I can add a beginning scene, an end screen, I'll add background music. Like, it doesn't take long to find all that stuff. You can find a lot of it from open game art. I might layer the entire background with tiles, so you see a background tile. Like right now, it's all black. Like, there's not much interest here, right? I mean, you know, what happens if I make this? If I maximize the screen, you can do that with WebGL too, right? So if I go back, it's still going to take me back over here. Oh. And now I'm back to the beginning for sure. Huh? My controls? That's the way I made it, right? Look at this zooming guy. Right? Control's bad because of the way I made my controls, right? Like, I can't go up the ramp. There's a reason for this. I could have done velocity instead of add force, which is what these enemies do, right? But the idea is that I can go in control. Now look, my lives don't go less than 0 because when they go less than 0, I'm supposed to go to the end scene, right? So WebGL is good. Any questions around the stuff? I know there's been a lot of things we did today. Again, I know that as we approach Friday, there's going to be a bunch of questions. Tom, I can't build to WebGL. What's going to happen? What are you going to do to me? Right? Not going to do anything. Right? Test WebGL early. Like, I know I kind of did this late, but test it early. Don't wait till the last minute because it may not work. Right? You may have to reallocate space. How do I do that? Right? So if I go to player settings on the right-hand side, notice that there's WebGL memory size is 256. You may want to monkey with this and look online to see what the right setting is. 256 is a pretty good size for most 2D games. Anything beyond that, you may have to modify this, right? Okay, let's save it to GitHub. So file, save my scene, file, save my project, and then Unity, quit. And I'm gonna go here, and we're gonna be done for the day. Git add dot git commit -m, and I'll say added UI. Git push origin master. And we should have everything we have. You can see how big it is now. It's like 8 megs, 12 megs, or 14 megs. And when I go back onto here, you should see under assets, everything you need. One thing you won't have is my build because of my git ignore file, which ignores builds and metas. All right, but you have everything you need for the exam next week and then some. Okay? Any questions around that before we depart? Great. Have a great week, and we'll see you on Saturday. Please come early to your exam. Don't wait. Don't wait until 2. You will not be allowed in. Come at 1, right? And you'll start promptly. If you're someone who wants to come early, come at 9. I'm not going to get mad if everyone comes at 9. It's okay. We'll make it fit. We'll make it work, guys. Okay? The test is going to be a scroller, a top-down scroller, 2D.